Good afternoon and welcome to Kingdom Restoration here on Kingdom First TV. I'm your co-host, Renee Scattergood, along with Dr. Don Hughes, and we are covering the subject of where is honor, and I hope you've been able to join us each week.
Well, and I'll tell you, Sissy, these guys have been bringing it. They've been throwing it down, as old boys used to say. And, of course, we're going to start off, guys, with another strong issue here today. Mm-hmm. And I believe the verse we're going to read out of the book of Romans, chapter 12, verse 10, I believe there has to be some maturity and some seasoning. And really, guys, men and women that have died to themselves to be able to do this next verse. And I'm reading from the King James. It says this in Romans 12, verse 10. Be kindly affectionate one to another with brotherly love. But listen to this phrase. In honor, preferring one another. It's honorable to prefer one another. I know one of the things, Michael and Leo, you guys are involved in Love and Unity with me. I know one of the things that we comment on regularly is how, and Travis, you and I have been a part of many organizations and ministries over the years, really seeing men honestly prefer one another, ministers. You know, they want the limelight. They want the pulpit. They want to have the best night of the conference to speak. They want to bring their message and wow the crowds. But here, Paul tells the Roman church, in honor, you prefer one another. What? More than yourselves. I mean, I've watched the senior council getting ready for a meeting, and I've done it. One time I drove almost 1,500 miles to the National Convergence in California, and I told Apostle Eddie, I don't want to preach this time. I preach all the time. Let me just come. Let me MC. Michael, remember, let me just host. Let me do the offering. Let me introduce the speakers. Let me just have fun. I had so much fun, guys. And we were also demonstrating to the people that are checking us out, we do prefer one another. We do care about it. It's not about just us having our moment in the pulpit. According to this verse, Pastor Travis, what's your thoughts as we go deeper into this subject?
Well, you know, there's another verse that says that we're to esteem others greater than ourselves or better than ourselves.
Yes.
So it's not in the Bible just one place. It's in there multiple times. I believe that in order to do that, we really have to have a real secure place in God. We have to have a relationship with the Lord where we feel okay about ourselves, because if I'm insecure about myself, then for me to prefer someone else before me, or to honor them and to honor others as being better or bigger than me, it's impossible to do if it's all about what the world thinks, what the world's saying, what people are doing. You know, it's all this popularity contest, then it's always shaky ground. You know, I started to say coming on here with you guys that I felt kind of like a hot dog in a steakhouse with you guys.
Oh my goodness.
And I really do feel like that I'm just kind of common. But there's one thing that I've always been really good at, and that's relationship.
Yes, sir.
And being connected. I love people. I don't pastor because I feel like God's making me do it. He created me for this, and I love the people. My heart's broken over many times. I'm doing a funeral this afternoon in just a little while that I have known this man for over 40 years, for like 42 years. And to have a friend, you know, one of the leaders in the church went to high school with me.
Wow.
And I've known him all those years, for 50 years. So I'm really big on relationship. I know there's always the threat of someone getting to know you and then they don't respect you because they've gotten too familiar with you. But I, for one, I have to have a closeness with people. I have to really care about them. And that to me is the core of how I can honor another person, is if I really care about that person. I see every person as somebody that has a mom, has a dad, or has children and grandchildren. And You and we run into people all the time that obviously they think they're the only person on the planet.
Come on.
But I don't see any happiness in that. I don't get any joy in that. And so I think it's very important that we do see the importance of other people, the people around us.
Amen.
Let me say this about Pastor Travis. He's a longtime friend. He lives what he preaches. My wife and I, we stay in his home 2 different weeks a year, and we stay there every night. We laugh, we cry, we talk, we preach to each other, we prophesy, we have fun, we do great things. He's the real deal. He cares deeply about his people, and they know it. They really do know it. We're talking, Michael, about honor prefers one another. You guys know I love to exegete. The word honor here in the Greek is different. It means, watch this, to go before and show the way, to go before and lead. And the last one means to go before as a leader. So being an example is preferring someone above yourselves, according to the original exegeting of that verse. Michael, what's your thoughts on this concept?
Well, I think we get to live this in love and unity with the senior council, because to take what Apostle Don opened with, there have been many times where we come to one of our convergences and we end up saying, I don't have to speak. I don't have to speak. I don't have to speak. It's sad when all the preachers argue over who loves who more.
Goodness.
That's just not, ego isn't a thing amongst the senior council. My mom used to joke about many people having the attitude that you come first after me. But in the senior council, it's really not that way. And this really gets down to what I call the 3 mutuals of ministry. The 3 mutuals of ministry are: we walk in mutual submission to one another. We walk in mutual accountability to one another. And we walk in mutual honor to one another. And yes, that involves preferring one another. Not you come first after me, but you come first and I come second. I will give up my spot so that you can have yours. Put you in the limelight, I'll celebrate you. One of the things I love about the senior council is we become each other's greatest cheerleaders. Man, you really brought it today. You really brought it today. That was out of the park. You just cleared the bases. Not only did you clear the bases, but you loaded them up and then cleared them at the same at bat.
Come on.
That's how we function. We really do prefer one another.
That's such a great word. Leo, Apostle Leo, thoughts, sir?
Let's just say the word would be radical. This kind of love for one another is radical because it's not natural. And so that means it's supernatural. Our new natural is the supernatural. Our new ordinary is the extraordinary. So in order to prefer somebody in love, to be kindly affectionate, that word kindly actually in the Greek means the same kind of love that mutual love parents have for their children and husbands and wives and so on.
Yeah.
It's not just flippant love. It's not just casual when you feel like it love. It's love that is in existence even when that person's not around, which means that even when that person's not around, you're not talking bad about them. You're honoring them, even if you might disagree with them and you're away from them. That's a big one. It's easy to honor and prefer somebody when they're right in front of you and in front of the congregation. I honor and prefer you, but to go behind closed doors and have the opportunity to talk bad and not means that you have a different kind of love. It's not superficial, but instead it's supernatural.
Wow, that's really good. Renee, thoughts?
That's true. You want to have your tribe be people who, when sitting at the table, do not talk about you. Mm-hmm. And if you're watching this and you're thinking, but I don't have relationships like that, or I don't have someone close, or I don't have someone who has my back, really pray for God to bring the people into your life, right people. It is so important that we have cheerleaders and we have fellowship with someone, we have someone we can trust and speak to and allow them to speak into our life. Don't close off. Just find your circle if you don't think you have them.
That's a good one. You know, we're going to go to another aspect here in Ephesians 6, guys, 1, 2, and 3. If you've ever been in the mall, out in public, where parents and kids are today, I stand amazed at the lack of honor I see from children to their parents. I've seen kids in the mall with $1,000 cell phone and $250 Michael Jordan shoes cussing their mama out in public because she won't buy them this thing or that thing or do this for them or do that their whole life, as one of you said, it seems to revolve around them. And as long as they're getting what they want or their way, mom's the greatest thing since sliced bread. When that doesn't happen, and Paul wrote this, he wasn't silent, guys. He wrote this to the Ephesus church, and he said, children, obey your parents in the Lord, for this is right. But listen to this. Honor your father and your mother, which is the first commandment with a promise. When God requires us something to do, often, guys, there is a promise. There's a benefit tied to doing what he told us to do. Honor your parents, which is the first commandment with a promise. Here's the promise, that it may be well with you. Well, let me flip the coin here, guys. If you ain't honoring, it ain't going to be well.
That's right.
And the word well in the Greek translates as prosperous. You'll be prosperous if you biblically honor your parents, that it may be well with you. Now, here's the last one, and that you may live long on the earth. Long on the earth. I heard a parent one time as a joke said, if I knew you were saved, I'm going to kill you. If I knew you were saved, I'd kill you and send you to Jesus today. You know, Pastor Travis, counseling the way we do, people in the church, our congregations over the years, how do you see this parent-children response in the honor? How do you see all that play out?
Well, you know, when it's not hard to see because of what we see at the mall, but it's sad to say that we don't see it just at the mall. But we see so many families that are broken, that mama is not the natural mama, and she has her children, he has his children, and now they've come together. And the children are confused. They really don't know who it is they're supposed to be honoring. It's a mixed up, messed up mess. And it really is more harmful on the children because children don't have something to go back to. You know, something goofy happens that I see. You know, I've got a childhood that my life goes back to. My father was a World War II veteran. My father had his front teeth knocked out in a battle in World War II, held a .45 handgun on a German dentist while he replaced his teeth. And I mean, he was a tough guy. I loved my dad, but I was terrified of my dad. I would never have even thought about disrespecting my dad. But these children, they don't have a foundation to go back to learn that this ain't right. What they see their parents living in front of them is what they think normal life is supposed to be. Yeah. It's a horrifying thing. And I know that there's the disrespect for the parents going on, but there's also that place where the parents have not done it. And it's complicated. It's not something I can just quickly describe here, but it takes a lot of work to be a parent.
Yes.
It takes a lot of discipline to be a good dad or good mom. But you can't discipline the children and not discipline yourself.
Come on.
To be a disciple of Jesus Christ is to be disciplined. And when the children don't have discipline, my dad told me one time, he said, boy, I tell you no, so that when you're grown up, you can tell yourself no.
Wow.
That didn't make a lot of sense to me then, man. It makes a ton of sense to me now.
Wow.
That I got that from him, that ability to say no. He told himself no. I remember when my dad got saved, and man, he changed. His life changed forever. It was serious business to him, and thank God, because it was a part of me being who I am today. I know I take up too much time, but this issue is so important to me, because children, I love children, and anytime, it's just not their fault. They haven't had a parent that says, "Hey, this isn't how we're going to do this." I'm the parent, you're the child, and I make the decision, and you do what you're supposed to do here.
Let me ask you this, and we'll go to you, Michael. I think many times parents don't take the responsibility for the thing they're trying to correct in their children. Their children are just mirroring the image of what their parents do.
Yeah.
And then we want to correct them for doing it, what they do, but they got it from us. I know a situation where a couple young little girls using God's name in vain, using the F word, little girls. And the parents want to get on to them, but I've watched the parents use the same words in front of the kids.
Yeah.
Don't think just because they're playing with their dolls, they don't hear everything going on in that room.
Right.
Yeah.
Michael, what's your thought on this thing with the children and the parents and the honor?
Well, I can go back to my childhood, and I can remember watching my dad shave every morning in the bathroom. And he always shaved up when he shaved. He would always lather up good with shaving cream. He would get his face wet with, a warm wash rag and put it on. And then, of course, he would take the razor, and he always shaved up. And so I would say, Dad, I want to shave. I didn't even have peach fuzz back then, but I wanted to shave. So he said, okay, do what I do. So he took the wash rag, got my face wet, and put shaving cream all over my face. And he gave me a razor with the plastic cover still on it. He said, now do what I do. And so I would stand next to him and do what he did. Didn't Paul tell us to imitate him as he imitated the Lord?
Come on.
Imitation is a very sincere form of flattery. And you want to do what your parents do. And so I learned how to shave. Even though I had a plastic cap on the razor, I learned how to shave by shaving with my dad. And then when he came up to his cheeks, he always shaved down. I don't know why, but he did. The neck, he always shaved up.
Yeah.
The cheeks, and Dad didn't have any facial hair. He had no beard, no mustache. Don't ask me where I got it from, because he doesn't have it. I tell people I'm just like my dad, except I have more hair on my head and more hair on my face. Other than that, we're the same. And if you look at us, you can tell that I am Leo Fram's son. I do look like him, and I act like him. When I first started teaching and preaching, people said to me, you look just like Leo. You sound just like Leo. You act just like Leo. You have the same facial expressions. You have the same gestures. You have the same voice inflection. Where did I learn it? I learned it from Leo. And let me tell another story real quick. I remember when I was in my first year at Rhema, I'm sitting in the student activity center one day after school eating lunch. And Ken Jr. is about 2 tables away from me having lunch and talking to somebody. And I was within earshot of them. Not that I was eavesdropping, but I was close enough that I could hear the conversation. And Ken Jr. began to tell somebody about how when he first started, people kept telling him he sounded like Dad Hagin. And I'm sitting there saying, sing it, brother, sing it. I can do the second verse to that song. Just go ahead, bring it. And finally, Ken Jr. said it bothered him And he went to Dad Hagen and said, Dad, everybody keeps telling me I look like you and I sound like you. And Dad Hagen finally said, Ken, you're my son. Who are you supposed to sound like? Man, that set me free because I'm Leo's son. Who am I supposed to sound like? And there is such a thing as mimicking and following in the example that our parents lay before us. The other side of that is in verse 4 of the text. And it said, and fathers, do not provoke your children to wrath.
Yeah.
So as much as, yes, there is a promise of long life, and I think a lot of us have heard, I brought you into this world, I'll take you out. I think a lot of us have heard that. There is long life if we honor them and if we obey them. But there's also a thing as parents of giving the right example and then not being mad if they're following our wrong example.
That's such a good word. And, you know, if any of you have seen Ken Hagen Jr. lately, 80 years old, is he the spitting image of his daddy in the way he walks, talks, preaches, and prophesies? He looked just like Dad Hagen. Yeah. You know, you said something, Michael, about your dad shaving. Then I'm going to go to Leo. He had you mimicking what he did, but he didn't let you use the blade because you weren't mature enough and you weren't ready. Yeah. He was teaching you the concepts that you would later use in life, but you weren't ready for the blade.
No.
I think that's tied to real parenting too. Apostle Leo, what's your thoughts?
Mine's somewhat different. My dad was rough, Texan, wild and crazy in his young days, and rough in his older days, just a rough guy. Some of his words to me usually were something along the lines of, don't make me plant this 8.5 boot up your know what. And he would hit you with a shovel if you weren't working fast enough and those kinds of things. So honestly, I learned how to honor my dad as the hardest worker I knew, but I had to learn how to honor my heavenly Father by watching what he does. And it was really a transition. It caused conflict in my relationship with my dad because I wasn't the rowdy guy. I mean, I get, indicted all the time with being that, but I'm not. It's just, this is my face. It's the way I was made. And I tell people all the time, I am laughing. This is my happy face. So get over it. But but I am convinced, though, that this honor that we have for our parents, it definitely runs in so many of the lines of what we've already talked about in 2 or 3 ways. You know them at an intimate level. You could say the familiarness breeds contempt, right? So you don't honor the way you should. Or you have, Apostle Fram's, where the example is perfect. Whichever one you have, it doesn't really matter. Because at the end of the day, when we become born again, our identity changes and our gaze has changed. And so we can learn I've gone back and became someone who honors my mother now more than I ever have in my entire life.
Yep, you do.
Because my eyes are set on the Heavenly Father and what he's done for me. And so I was a hellion, drug addict, crazy biker with tattoos. I was not a good person for years and years. I put my parents through a lot of hell. But once I was born again and I found the Lord, or he found me, it transitioned that in my life to go back and recognize I needed to honor my parents. So whoever you are, I just feel like saying this. You might be listening and you're either the parent of a stubborn child or young adult that's running around using drugs and acting a fool and talking bad to you. There's going to come a day, just keep praying for them, that they're going to break through and honor will come. There'll be a time of breakthrough for both of you, crying and believing for supernatural things in each other's lives again. So hold out. But if you're the young man or woman that are that person, you just happen to get on this channel today somehow or in the future, just know this. You're in the loving arms of the Father, even though you're running as hard as you can to get away. you'll never get away from his love. It's not going to happen. So you might as well just stop, turn around and say, what do I need to do? And then return to your parents and honor them.
Right.
Great word. We got about 3 minutes, Renee, 2.5 minutes. What's your thoughts on today's program?
So I think in our world and the situation we're in right now, parents are afraid to discipline their children. And I've had that happen in my own life with my kids saying, Mom, I can't discipline them. They'll call the cops on me. And I've told my children, bring them to me. I'm not afraid. And they've brought the kids to me. I've had them all one time or more. And I've told the children before, I said, I'm going to discipline you because I love you. And when I say it's going to hurt me more, it's going to hurt you, I will be crying with you. But you will learn something from this. I think parents, if you're out there and you're afraid to discipline your children, they're not respecting you. They're not.
Yeah.
My little brother, Kevin, he was the third child out of 4. And my mom was just tired. She had 4 babies in 6 years. She was just tired of discipline. And my little brother, Kevin, asked my mom, do you not love me as much as Bubba and Sissy? And she goes, of course I do. I love you. And she goes, he said, you never get on to me, because she was tired. But they viewed it as, you don't love me if you don't make me behave also. I know it's a messed up world, but I think we have to be disciplining our children.
Right.
We have to do it. We have to set a godly example for them. We have to be speaking the word over them, make sure what we're speaking is right, and make sure that they understand. I don't care what the world tells you to do. We are in the world. We are not of it.
That's right.
That's a great word. You know, my oldest boy, Donnie, when he was little, an adult asked him about me disciplining my boys. And as a little boy, he's the firstborn. I remember he told me what he told them. He said, my daddy disciplines us because he loves us. Mm-hmm. And I mean, man, out of the mouth of babes, that was such a powerful, powerful statement. Man, guys, can you believe we are done with program 3? I mean, we got one more left this month, and we're going to get into next program, next Friday, 12 o'clock. We're going to get into what it means to rebuke not an elder, but how to acknowledge and treat younger brethren. And we're going to talk about how honor's tied to making a vow and keeping it. So we're going to, as Michael said, we've loaded up the bases the last 3 weeks. We've got bases loaded. We're going to knock it out of the park next Friday, 12 o'clock Central Time, right here. Until then, on behalf of my co-host, Renee, myself, Pastor Travis, Apostles Leo, and Apostle Michael Fram, we love you so much. Thank you for tuning in. God bless you. We'll see you next Friday. Bye-bye.